to another video, guys. Here we're gonna be talking about something really important, which even some players that have been playing the game for several years now still don't realize. The importance of having a solo dungeon farmer. This will unlock huge potentials for so many accounts, because this allows you to farm things like gear hunters, dungeon tournaments, and champion training all at the same time. And being able to triple dip like this really is gonna save you so much extra energy, gems, and resources altogether. You're gonna be able to level up so many more level 60 champions, and it's all around gonna skyrocket your progress. So I hope you find the video helpful, and if you do, a like and subscribe would be great. And I had the idea for this topic for today's video from the free account takeover we did yesterday, so if you guys also need some help on your account, check me out live on stream each Tuesday and Thursday, where I do my best to help you enjoy Raid even more. If you want to support the channel for free and start yourself a second account the right way, download the game through my free download link, and that's gonna give you so many extra champions, and you're gonna have 24 hours to use one of the amazing promo codes that are available right now. Now, let's get into the video. Okay, so what is a dungeon solo farmer? Basically, this is a champion that deals a lot of damage thanks to things like burn, poisons, or just straight out tons of damage like, let's say, Marius. But if you already have Marius, you already know what I'm talking about. But yeah, basically champions that a lot of people have and don't realize they have can actually be doing this purpose. Here's a great example of a super good solo farmer for my account, which would be Artak. What does Artak do? Well, he basically burns the spiders to death and he refuses to die. Both of these qualities are very important for your solo farmer, and here's what happens. All of the champions that are supposed to be food here die, and then Artak starts tanking like a madman, and he basically does the delete thanks to his super good kit with HP burn and self-proccing HP burn, which is also making the runs a lot quicker and a lot more convenient for you. As you're gonna notice, my Artak is booked out, so he is gonna be doing this especially efficiently, and boom goes the dynamite. Just like that, we farmed ourselves all of this free extra XP, basically 25,000 plus XP for free, while farming me some accessories, some silver, some pizza points right now. You get it. You basically get to dip into so many extra pieces of resources, all at the low price of 16 energy, and building your solo farmer the right way. Now, my Artak definitely is built out through the roof, and his stats are very crazy, but you really don't need this crazy stats to be able to do this, and you also don't need only Artak to be able to do this. Similar champions that can be doing this, if we're talking about legendaries, we can start off with somebody like Walking Tomb Drain. And what does this guy do? Well, again, he does have HP burn, and the cool thing about this guy is he doesn't even need accuracy because this debuff cannot be resisted. He also does instantly activate HP burns thanks to his A1, so that definitely helps big time. Another legendary champion that you would be very happy to have in order to be able to do this solo farming strategy would be somebody like Theodore, who actually does not have HP burn, but what he does have is a lot of poisons, poison sensitivity, as well as poison trigger, and he also does trigger HP burn, but he doesn't bring HP burn, so that doesn't matter too much for the solo farming strategy. But again, you will be able to actually do a lot of damage very quickly with the help of the poisons. Off the top of my head, other legendary champions that could help here would be somebody like Nishak, who I don't have, but he is a very good bomber you could be using, and so on and so forth. Definitely go through your roster and check who might actually have some potential for you to be doing this job for you. You could be looking for HP burners, good poisoners, bombers, or just all around very good max HP damage dealers, but that would be a lot harder to build because you can't really go with crazy damage and high survivability for the most part. I think also somebody like Empress could be built as a solo farmer, but again, if you already have Empress, you probably already have that base covered. Believe it or not, there's also plenty of epics that can fit this role for you, but you will definitely need to have to build them very well. One of the best champions you could be using as a solo farmer from the epic part would be Uragrim. This guy again has a lot of good poisons, a lot of good healing, and all around he will be able to get the job done for you nice and quick. Another epic champion that comes to mind would be a Kemptum, and even though this guy is very squishy, he again does bring some good poisons. He also brings Hex, so he might be able to get the job done for you, even though he's probably not gonna be super quick. I also know Myceliac Priest Orn can get the job done. Again, he does bring a bunch of poisons, he does heal himself, he does bring poison sensitivity, so so he would be great for this job as well. So if you have this guy, you can definitely try and build him out. And the last champion I'm gonna mention here would be Venomage, because again, he does bring a lot of good poisons, he does bring some decreased defense, and more poisons on the A3 as well, and again, he is gonna have a hard time dying. These are not the only epic champions that can work, but off the top of my head, I'd say this is enough for now. Anyway, moving down to how you can actually build these champions in order for them to be fitting this role, and 9 times out of 10, we're gonna be talking about the classic build of 4-piece regen and 2-piece immortal. This should work almost always for any solo farmer build, but depending on the champion, the stats might need to be different. For instance, like I said, Walking Tomb Drank does not need any accuracy for him to be doing the job for you, whereas somebody like Artak will need the accuracy, so you are gonna have to respect him with about 250 accuracy, depending on what you're actually trying to tackle. Speaking of which, now would be a good time to actually tell you what you should be preparing for depending on what dungeon you're gonna be going for. The best place to check this thing out would be on Hell Hades' website and go to the Raid Stages tool, and when we're talking about solo dungeon farming, we're usually meaning stage 20, and the classic solo farming dungeons would be Dragon, Spider, and Ice Golem. Fire Knight really cannot be solo farmed, not the same way as the other 3 at least. Starting off with Dragon's Lair, let's see the normal level 20 difficulty, and this is kind of the same for all stages by the way. The waves are gonna have very slow speed, look at this 95 speed, they're literally not even supposed to take a turn for the most part. And we can also see that their resistance is only 133, meaning that you need less than 200 accuracy to actually be landing your debuffs for the waves at least. Their accuracy, however, is 133, meaning that your champion is gonna need about 240 resistance in order not to get poisoned, stunned, heal reduced, and all that nonsense that you're really not gonna be happy to see. So if you don't want to be getting debuffed, resistance needs to be about 240, and if you want to be landing your debuffs, for the waves at least 160 is the way to go, but for the boss himself, you're gonna need 225. So definitely not very hard to achieve, but still you are gonna need to actually build a little bit of accuracy on your debuff champions. Your resistance also needs to be about 300 something if you want to be resisting the dragon's debuffs, but all around it shouldn't be that bad. The speed of the dragon is only 100, so if you actually build your champion with 200 plus speed, you're gonna be taking 2 turns each time the dragon takes 1, which usually is more than enough to be very comfortable against that. Not only are you gonna be dealing damage twice as more than the dragon would, you're also actually gonna have 2 shots at healing yourself before the dragon slaps you a second time. Now let's check out what the spider's den is gonna look like. Again, normal 20, and it should be pretty similar. Here we go. The small spiders actually have 150 speed, so they are actually fairly quick, whereas the big spider only has 95 speed, so again, with 200 speed, you're gonna be comfortably taking 2 turns each time Skavak gets 1 turn. In terms of resistance here, the spider has 200, so that means you need 225 accuracy, and in terms of accuracy, the spider has 200, and you're gonna need 305 resistance in order not to get poisoned, which definitely would help you big time, because these guys definitely do pack a mean punch once those poisons start stacking. And last but not least, let's talk about Ice Golem, normal 20. And here it's actually kind of tricky. 20 is generally the best place in terms of energy to be fighting, but depending on the champion you're going to be using here, you might actually consider using one of the other levels, either 21 or 19, depending on the affinities, because if you bring somebody like a Force Affinity champion against all of these greens, well, you're not going to have a super happy fun time most of the time. Anyway, going through the stats, we can see that the waves are going to be slow as mud, and they're also not going to have too much resistance and accuracy. And on the boss fight, again, Clysis, which is what the Ice Golem is called, has only 90 speed, which is super slow. The adds are also not sprinters, so to speak. And as for the resistance and accuracy, well, 225 accuracy and 305 resistance ought to get you there. Here it's very important to have resistance, by the way, because these guys do bring heal reduction on you, so you're not gonna be happy not being able to heal for a couple of turns, so definitely make sure to bring a good amount of resistance, at least 305, so you don't get locked out of healing for too long. That would potentially end your run. Okay, knowing what we know now, here is my Artak. I haven't been using him as much for solo farming lately, and as you can see, my resistance is actually on the low side, but if I wanted to, I can definitely change a few pieces nice and quick. For instance, this banner can go into a resistance banner straight out, and that is gonna get me there right out the get-go. Here's one that's looking actually quite okay, resistance with a bunch of speed, if I can move my head a little, obviously. There we go. Or I could even use a banner from chronophage because this one does give resistance straight out. Here's one perfect for this example actually. This thing brings 20 resistance straight out. Let me just bring it to 12. If it lands a little bit of speed, that would have been perfect, so of course it wouldn't. But yeah, the chronophage set does straight out give 20 resistance, so that's a great place to be getting yourself extra resistance from. The accessory section, I could also consider swapping out my chest for resistance if I felt like it. I could get a little bit of extra resistance out of my amulet if I wanted to, but yeah, you get it. Right now it's not a perfect build, even though it's actually super cracked build because I have like, what is this, 120k HP, which is kinda insane when it comes down to damage, but you definitely don't need this crazy stats. And nowadays with relics it's even easier, but more on that after we're done with the build itself. Like I said, we're looking for 4 pieces regen, 2 pieces immortal for the biggest amount of healing. Another set that can also work here would be defiant if I'm not mistaken. Let me see if I have a few pieces laying around just to visualize what I'm trying to say. Yeah, here it is. The defiant set is very good as well because this thing does give you plus 10% defense, but also minus 15% damage taken from enemy AoE attacks. And let's face it, most bosses do slap you with AoE attacks, so minus 15% damage straight out like that would be pretty huge. So instead of 2 pieces immortal, you can definitely clap yourself a couple of defiant pieces. Sadly, these you can only get through the paid forge pass, so there's that, but yeah, if you have a few of those, you could be considering them. And going through the pieces themselves, when we talk about the boots, speed would be 9 times out of 10 the best thing you could be getting, because you are gonna want to have at least 200 speed to be able to take 2 turns before the bosses take 1. Technically speaking, you could also opt for HP percent or defense percent with some speed in the substats, but you get it. 45 speed is something you can't really get as substats unless you get a penta roll, I guess, and you gotta get a very lucky penta roll with a good glyph nonetheless. So on the boots, we are looking for speed most of the time, and for substats, it would be best to get HP percent, defense percent, resistance, and if the champion needs it, accuracy. For the chest, you could go for HP percent, defense percent, resistance, or accuracy as the main stat, and the substats would be best if they have either speed, or HP percent, or defense percent, accuracy, or resistance. Those would be the best in the percentages. Flat HP or flat defense, those are no good. Even though, as you see right now, I have 2 of those, but this chest still is quite magnificent because it rolled so much speed and it has a good amount of accuracy. For the glove, what you are gonna want would be HP percent or defense percent as main stat. Anything else would be a very big compromise here on the glove. And again, for the bottom half, HP percent or defense percent, depending on what you have on the main, you want the other one as the substat preferably. As you can see, I don't have myself the preferable other substat, but still, and you still would be happy with a little bit of resistance, accuracy, or speed. On the top half, you basically don't get to choose anything for the main stat. You all should know that weapons only get attack, helmets only get HP, and shields only get defense. But here's a pop quiz for you guys. Did you guys actually realize that the weapons can never roll flat or percent defense? The same way as shields can never roll flat attack or attack percent. I myself actually learned this at least after 1 year into the game, so this might take some of you by surprise, but still worth mentioning. Anyway, again, we are looking for good defense stats. For the weapon, you're gonna be looking for HP percent, speed, accuracy, or resistance. For the helmet, you're gonna be looking for HP percent, defense percent, speed, accuracy, or resistance. And for the shield, you're gonna be looking for defense percent, HP percent, speed, resistance, or accuracy. On the banner, this would be a great place to get yourself all of that resistance if the top half didn't save you, so a main stat resistance would be great, especially if you have speed, defense percent, HP percent on the bottom. A banner cannot have accuracy or resistance as a substat, but also you could go for an accuracy banner as the main stat if you're missing a lot of accuracy. This would be a great place to get some. The amulet would be best if it's either defense or HP main stat, and you would be happy to get accuracy and resistance as the substats. Those would be the best things you could be having at the bottom, because you can only get flat HP or flat defense as substats here, and those are not exactly very sought after. And last but not least, we have the ring, which could be either HP or defense, with HP and defense percent as substats. That would be best. In terms of the accessories, you could go with vanilla accessories if you don't have anything better, but if you're missing a lot of accuracy, the feral set would be amazing. Like, even a single piece feral gives you 40 freaking accuracy, guys. Whereas if you go for 3 pieces feral, this is basically like gonna be more than a 5-star level 16 banner or chest on accuracy, which would be huge, and it also gives you a good amount of speed, so nothing to scoff at for sure. The protection set will give you 20 resistance, which would be awesome, and if you go for 3 pieces, it even gives you 12% speed and 15% HP. Stone skin is also not the worst when it comes down to accessories, gives you a lot of HP, resistance, and defense if you go for 3. Supersonic would also actually get the job done, but you probably don't have 3 pieces supersonic, so enough about that. And last but not least, the chronophage also is gonna be great here because it gives you 40 resistance and a lot of speed as well. If this build is still not enough for you, you might actually want to supplement it with a little bit of ascension, like you could be ascending your boots into a lot of HP, defense, or speed. You could be ascending your chest into a lot of HP, defense, resistance, or accuracy. You could be ascending your gloves into HP or defense. And same can be said for the accessories. The banner mainly, you could ascend into extra HP, defense, resistance, or accuracy, and all of those would be nice. Ascending the top half items can also be somewhat beneficial, but don't go beyond 2 stars. After that, it's just way too much resources for very minimal gains, so don't do that. And you could be ascending 2 stars on your amulet and on your ring as well for a little bit of extra stats. And obviously, you could also be glyphing out your stuff with the important stats, but try not to go crazy with your 5 and 6 star glyphs. Try to limit yourselves to 4 star or less. Moving down to the relics, right now it's actually extremely easy to build yourself a solar farmer, especially if you have yourself this relic, guys. The golden elixir is an absolute godsend right now, and this thing is gonna basically refuse to let you die. As soon as your champion goes below 50%, this thing is gonna heal you for 14% of your HP just for having it on +9, and it can go even higher, but obviously try not to be leveling this thing way too much. This would definitely help you big time, however. This thing also fits the circle sockets, which are gonna allow you to use the bosses deal 5 less damage to the wearer, which would be very, very huge, because let's face it, the bosses is what's gonna be the problem for you for the most part. And you could also use the rhomboid sockets here for, let's say, maybe a little bit of resistance if you have some of those. Could even use the Fleetfoot rare socket if your champion gets stunned. This way you're gonna come back to your turn a little bit faster, a little bit of extra res with this thing, so on and so forth. If you're lucky enough to have a blessing on the champion, 9 times out of 10 Brimstone would be the best if we're talking about legendary champions, because this thing brings so much extra damage, guys. This would obviously only be the case for legendary champions, but when we're talking about epics, something like Emergence Heal might actually be pretty genius for you, but this tactic would only work if you actually built your champion properly with a Blood Shield accessory. What does a Blood Shield accessory do? Well, it gives you a shield, a very small shield at that, so this thing is gonna get broken like hell, and this thing is gonna heal you every time the shield gets broken, which would be very, very nice. But for legendaries, Brimstone definitely is gonna make your runs a lot faster. When it comes down to masteries, we could look at Hell Hades' advice on general masteries for solo farmers. You could be going either for War Master, or you could also be going for Oppressor, which is gonna give you a lot more turn meter for all the debuffs you're landing, but it really comes down to the champion you're using here, so definitely be smart about it, and probably check out a dedicated guide about the champion you're trying to build in order to see the exact masteries that are gonna work best for him, and also the exact gear that's probably gonna be best for him when it comes down to building a solo farmer like that. A really important mastery when it comes down to solo farming would be this thing, the Spirit Haste, because this is gonna give you 24 extra speed when you're bringing yourself food champions, and that would be absolutely huge for you. So yeah, guys, all around that's gonna be it for this topic. I really hope this helps some of you out and really opens your eyes to how easy it could be to actually be farming yourself tons of extra free level 60 champions. Drop a like and subscribe to the channel if this helped you out, and do let me know in the comments which champion you're trying to use as your solo farmer. Check me out live on stream each Tuesday and Thursday for a free account takeover, and if you want to start Raid the right way and support the channel for free, download the game through my download link and start Raid the right way. Thanks for watching, I'm Chris05, and I'll see you in my next video or stream.